It's time to get started here in the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live, and I have, of course, Nutmeg because we're in the Nutmeg Tavern. Welcome in. We are going to have fun today. I'm your host, John Townsend, and we're going to be talking about 18th century life, 18th century stuff, as it were. And I think it's wishful thinking. Maybe it was just the weather from 2 days ago, but spring came into everyone's mind here, even though it's too soon for spring, isn't it? But we can usher it in with like tension of our stomach muscles.
We'll get there one of these days. We did. We have a very nice thaw here. Got up to mid-50s, and everyone went outside.
That's right.
At long last.
That's right. All the snow melted. It not only got warm, but then it rained. And then this morning, snow pellets coming down. No!
Don't worry, we got another 50-degree day in the forecast.
So we wanted to talk about spring. As much as we enjoy spring, look forward to spring, I can imagine the folks living in the 18th century thought 10 times more than we do about, when is spring going to get here? Many of them were very, very... there was multiple people in the 18th century that we know of that were specifically looking at the weather, recording it year after year, every single day. There were a couple of people, even within North America in the 18th century context, that had thermometers, real live thermometers, and were, keeping track of this, assiduous records. Not only keeping track of the temperature, but exactly what's happening on what day. And not like societal happenings, but when did the leaf open on this plant this year? That kind of thing, so that they could kind of track that. Now, the interesting thing about spring in the 18th century versus spring now is that whole time period from somewhere, I think it was in the 1400s up until the early 19th century was that little ice age time period when they were having strange fluctuations in weather. And so it was, all the more concerning for them. And so they did see probably more sort of crazy variation than we do. Where did I want to go? I was thinking about like exactly where I wanted to go next, and it popped out of my mind. So I think what we'll do is we're gonna pop into some images right now, and then we'll pop out and we'll talk some more about some of these individual things, right? Unless you've got anything you wanted to jump in with. Okay, very good. Let's go ahead and there we go. There's many different artistic and sometimes in the visual arts, even in the writing arts, where they kind of go over the seasons of the year. Sometimes the seasons are sort of meant as a metaphor, and then other times they're just straight up, these are the seasons, right? And they mean outdoor things. So like this piece, but this is like the months, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like
so
January,
the far
February.
Left is January or February, and then
Right.
the one where he's hunting is September. I don't remember what the kind of shop one is, but on the far right, I think it's April or May is what that one's representing.
Those are in odd order.
I was a little surprised, right? Because they didn't, of course, seem sequential to me, but
Right.
there must have been some rhyme or reason.
Anyway.
And I'm assuming that somewhere there was a full set of all the months,
Yeah.
but this was just the panel for these ones.
And they're obviously, they're much more tied to the seasons than we are. The food they're eating, the foods that are available, the occupations of a person in the springtime are different from the occupations. So many of us today have jobs that our job is the same, right? It's like I work in a store or I do this or that, and I do the same thing. It does not matter whether it's January or it's September. I'm doing exactly the same thing. I might be complaining about a different thing depending on the season, and maybe some seasons are driven by holidays, right? So I'm busier, say, in December or something like that. But that's about the holiday. It's not about the weather. In the 18th century, it was about the weather. It was
I
about,
mean, there would still be some occupations. People who do taxes, people who
yeah.
do landscaping.
yeah, but taxes. That's not anything to do
No,
with the
no,
weather.
it doesn't have to do with the weather. That's just seasonal. But
Right.
if you
But if
did
you're an outdoor
landscaping,
worker, yeah.
if you're a farmer,
Sure.
But
Exactly.
a lot of them have no longer, because we of course moved everything
Right.
indoors if we could.
Right. So I was looking at diaries in the 18th century. There was a fascinating diary. I think it's Samuel Lane. He's in from, say, I get early as 1720 all the way up until I think he dies at like 86 or something. And he has his diary. It's not daily, but he hits the high points of the month. And it's very funny because I think I've got one of the pages here someplace. Yeah, so I think this is one of the pages. December 6th, I moved into my new shop where I and my wife lived chiefly this winter to save wood, blah, blah, blah. So that's December 6th. And then it skips April 4th, right? And then it's like April, May, June, July, October, September, October. And then you get to December again, and then bloop, it goes straight over to April. Like, what? They just went to bed? It's like,
Yep.
oh, it's January 1st. Wake me in the spring. And it's like that. Occasionally something will happen in January or February. He'll write like, oh, somebody died or, something like that. But other than that, basically, he doesn't say anything happens in January or February or March.
He took those months off.
It's like, yeah, what's the point? Don't we all wish we could take that off? Here are the personifications of the seasons. And this set is actually from North America, right?
Yes, it is.
Right, it's from North America. Winter there with a muff. I don't know if anything else there says winter, except the fact that she has a muff.
She should be a little more bundled.
Right, the dress is the same.
is.
She's just different colors. The springtime, she has flowers. I don't know if you always have flowers in spring. Summer is something.
Fruits, I think, probably.
Maybe. I don't know what they
Grapes.
I think they're grapes.
are. Okay, grapes. And
Yeah,
then
in the draping.
fall, of course, we have a sheaf of wheat or something like that. I guess that says the seasons. I don't know. I think the artist could have gotten a little more in depth there, but.
It said that, each season was portrayed with its, season encompassing thing. So flowers, grapes, and wheat, and winter, I guess, doesn't have
Muff.
anything. But that's what the description said.
Okay.
I just didn't have enough space to put the whole description on the slide.
But I was very interested in the fact that this sculpture in North America, pretty early on,
Yeah.
when you'll see metalwork and of course pictures and everything, but this having the statues is very nice.
Yeah. There we go. The January, February, March, and April, and the cold, bundled up, snowy, people are skating or whatever. January, the February where we're still hanging out by the fire. I don't know what the court jester's doing there in the background. Don't ask me what he has to do with February, but we can tell it's still a little bundled up there. March, where we're finally seeing people getting out and preparing, doing things out in the fields. And then April, look at those fields. They're planting them and all kinds of fun stuff is happening, I guess. Plants and people being outdoors without freezing to death. Something like that. Let's see, what have we got here? It's a sampler. It's from 1798. Uncertain life, how soon it flies. Dream of an hour, how short our bloom. Like spring's gay verdure, now we rise. Cut down ere night to fill the... Boy, there's a gloomy piece
I
of
know,
writing.
the decorations do not exactly reflect that.
And then we're dead. teach me. Anyway,
Yeah, that next one is much harder to read.
Yeah. So, well, you know, the memento mori and all that. I mean, spring is nice and all that. But I like the alphabet up top. It's like I practice my letters before I'm going to write this little thing down.
And
Right?
I always, because I don't do well at embroidery, I've never, practiced enough to really get it. When I see it, I'm like, you know what? This took quite some time. Like this does, we're so used to kind of machine embroidery.
Yep.
And then you're like, no, done by hand. Always nice to
Yep.
see. And I love to see them completed, right? A lot of times the embroidery pieces I see now are, in progress. So
Right. Because they'll never get done.
sometimes.
We have interesting advertisements for spring goods. Now, I don't know exactly what. Well, that one says April. I don't know if you advertise spring goods in January or spring goods in April, right?
Late February. Well, if it's anything like today, it's in May. There will be no more spring goods.
Well, see, that's the problem. I don't think they were. I think they advertised spring goods when it's spring.
Quite likely.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine they did it whenever the ship
I mean,
came
what have
in.
we got? Fabrics and chintzes and
I imagined
tea.
that they were switching over
Right.
the yard goods to, the
Colorful.
lighter
Right.
material and probably the colors that you would use in the spring.
Here's the other one. Just have imported in ships Philadelphia and Grace from Amsterdam for sale. A general assortment of spring goods, among which are Russia duck and black India taffeta. Again, does not sound like amazing spring goods here.
But it's not wool, so
Well,
we must have moved on.
There's that. Let me see if Ivy gave me this.
That one should be in your papers.
What was that?
That one should be in your papers in the weather section.
Yes, I could probably spring it. I could probably read it here, but maybe you told me exactly what I should be reading. Maybe?
I think this thing is pretty much, the whole thing is interesting. Although,
Okay.
I thought about just cropping the bottom out.
Hazel did not begin to blow until the second, and that means bloom, until the second week of March and continued to bloom until the middle of April. It seldom happens that there are not a few What the heck? You just jumped away from us.
I'm so sorry. I did not know that would change something. Sorry.
Here I am reading along.
Sorry.
Extraordinary, the swallow this year returns and the gooseberry foliates at the same time. Notwithstanding the backwardness of spring, the cuckoo begins to call at the 26th of April. So here you got somebody, and that on a cold, sharp, frosty morning. And here's this little chart here. The progress of spring, 1784. The hazel's blooming. The gooseberry starts to get leaves. There's the swallow coming back, the cuckoo. The sallow is a flower that's blooming. The poplar leaves come out. The hawthorn gets leaves on it. The blackthorn blooms. So he's watching all these things go. And sometimes I'm paying attention to that. We live on our property. It's got thousands of trees, and the poplar trees are one that they start off with this little tiny poplar leaf. It just pops out as a whole little shaped leaf. And, it's like, what day is it that it's going to finally, because you wait, you think, April's here, the leaves are coming, and you wait.
You're waiting.
And you wait.
With bated breath.
And you wait.
And I pay attention to when I hear the first red-winged blackbird, when we
Right.
hear the peepers in the spring, and a lot of times we're waiting for just to see that green haze in the woods when
Right.
you,
It's like no leaves, but something's happening.
and then of course as you get further along into flower spring, you're like, there's the trillium or there's the violet.
Right.
So we certainly do have our own kind of woods calendar that
So it was, I think, 2 days ago, and the blackbirds were down at the pond.
yes. They're like, they've arrived. They know. They're like,
Yeah.
we're all thinking it's a little chilly, it's going to snow again. But they've decided, they're like, we're on our way back.
They were already setting up shop. So I think I got that one. Okay, let me keep going here. See if I can find my place. Oh, see, I'm all messed up. Hold on.
I didn't print that one out.
Oh,
I didn't know if you wanted to read it or not.
So this one we know is a song. It's just a great poem by Robert Blake here in the late 18th century. There are a bunch of his that are done with these kinds of illustrations. Very, very interesting illustrations and stuff. So the Little Lamb song is a good one. And I'm not going to sing it for you because I think the Carley sisters did it much better than that. So I won't make you suffer with that. Okay, here we go. Now this one I didn't see. Where is it?
It is in there, I think.
Are they in order?
They were supposed to be.
Maybe I messed them all up. Okay, I found, wait, I think I found where I'm at. Yes, I found it. Okay. Adjoining the sty where your swine are shut up, which should be dry and warm, fence a yard for them to wallow in. 20 or 30 feet square will be large enough for half a dozen hogs. Cover this in the fall or spring with mud or any rich earth or grass sods. Common loam should be not, maybe they mean loam, I don't know, should not be reused. If richer earth cannot be procured, the hogs having no rings in their noses will render this mud or earth, if not more, than 2 feet deep, an exceeding rich compost in a year's time, and they will keep it stirring and fermenting with their dung. And this is just wonderful stuff.
Well, when you're a farmer, you care about getting nice rich earth.
I was like, how to make mud in the springtime? Like, we need directions for it.
Well, and there are a few things, especially here, as we're gonna. I think of spring. There are two springs. We have mud spring first, and then it moves into flower spring later.
Yes, mud spring, the month of mud, which what do we have here?
I'm perfectly happy to go through mud spring so we can get to the other side.
Yeah, but it's that 3 weeks out of the year, 4 weeks out of the year, when you just don't go outside without rubber boots.
That's right.
And we'll talk about rubber boots here. This is May of 1785, and George Washington, he's talking about, so he spends time talking about the temperature. So Saturday the 2nd, mercury at 50 in the morning, 46 at noon, and 42 at night. Wind at the east, pretty fresh until afternoon, when it got into the west and turned cold. About daybreak, it began to snow. This is May in Virginia. Began to snow and began to do so until the ground was covered with it about an inch deep. After which there fell a mixture of snow and rain till about 10 o'clock, when it turned into a constant rain the remainder of the day, and it was accompanied by pretty sharp thunder. The next day, the mercury's at 38, and I'm missing the rest of it, but what happens is that it rains so much that the roads become untravelable, and the people he's got staying with him have to stay. It's like they can't go home. It's like, well, I'm gonna have to stay a couple more days because there's no way you're traveling on these muddy roads. And the roads in the 18th century, like that piece back here where it's talking about the pigs in the mud. Well, the idea of the pigs in the mud, or if you've got horses in an enclosure in the springtime, and you can think about the wheels on carriages or wagons on a road, in the springtime, they just churn it until it's like this deep. It's just horrible. You can't do anything. It'll suck the shoes right off your feet when you try to walk through it.
Takes the wheels off the carriage.
It will. I mean, you just make it so pretty soon you can't move. So it's no wonder that the diarist Samuel Lane was saying, it's like, what is there to say about March? I don't have anything to tell you. I didn't do anything.
I stayed home.
Yeah, I stayed home and I didn't do anything. So that's part of what's going on with a lot of springtime, this waiting. So The winter time. I mean, we talked about the winter a couple of weeks ago, and how they were saying, "Oh, this is great traveling weather. We can use our sleighs. They go faster and they go better. They can go places where we couldn't go any other time of the year. We can just go across the lake or go across the river. No problem." So that this cold part of the winter was actually more helpful to them in some ways than when it gets to spring, when forget it. Just forget it. You're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. You're going to wait for the flowers, right? Here we go. That's in German or Dutch or something. But the picture is great. See at the top, it's March, is what it's saying up there, and and the trees all say March, and of course we've got rain coming down at a 45-degree angle, and the wind is going. That's what was it today? It was so,
It was
today. It was windy.
Yeah, it was kind of right. It wasn't sleeting, but
Yeah.
it,
Well, we had snow pellets for a
yeah,
while.
sometimes it was a snow, as you said, snow pellets. A little earlier it was rain and very, very windy. And it was making you feel the cold because it was a lot warmer than it had been, but the wind was telling you that it wasn't as warm as it had been.
Right. Here we got all used to it being, 5 degrees or whatever, and then it warmed up to 25, and we're like, and then it went to 55, and we're thinking this is great, and then it goes back down to 30, and we think,
Right? We got used to that 50 degrees
it's
pretty
like
quick.
10 seconds when it's 50 out, and we're already complaining. Mud. the slime and, how do you say this? Ulgulius, I don't even so matter at the bottom of still water. The pure spring is not so free from mud. Water in mud doth purify, as not able to preserve itself. Okay.
Do we have I think later on here it has to mud as a
Right,
verb.
exactly. To mud as a verb, to bury in slime or mud. Now, we mud with, like when you're doing drywall, you
absolutely.
mud the drywall, right?
That's
you put
right.
slime
Right?
on the wall.
And I do love this looking at, I mean, it works with dictionaries now, but with the 18th century ones, to look at the definition, because I do not often ask myself the definition of
So
mud.
it's like, what do you mean to mud? I know what, but how would you say what the
Yes.
definition is? It's like, to put slime on something. Another one of these perfect, now this is later spring. Look, we've got leaves on the trees and everything, but windy, rainy. We have, the water trying to spill over the dike. A lot of these images are Dutch because they're the ones who are doing the art.
They do, like they have such a rich art culture, and they will do certain subjects that,
The English just don't.
right, and kind of vice versa.
Yeah.
So sometimes you run into a really rich vein of artwork about a topic in one culture, and you won't find it in another one, and so
Yeah.
you're like, once you find the right culture
They were
for it, you're
so
like, well,
much more about daily life,
it's
showing
true.
daily life than the English were. So, I mean, the English would do, it's like, oh, look, it's a fancy landscape. But
Yeah.
they won't show us the workers in the field very often. So this is titled March. And here they are flinging their snowballs.
Yeah, so this is the snowy part of March. This certainly made me think of the fact that while all our snow melted off, we had our first
Yeah.
thaw, it's definitely going to snow again
it'll
before
snow
we
again.
get to our true
Right.
spring.
In fact, it always, to me, there's always an April snow.
Yes.
Always. You think we're through March, we're done. We don't have to worry about snow anymore. It's like, it's usually 4 inches of nice soft snow that stacks up really quick and then melts off 2 days later. But yet, it still is going to do it. It's going to mess you up. So let's see where I had here. Yeah, we're at about that spot. If I can find my paper. There we go. Here we go. We've got new and renewing YouTube members and a new Patreon person. So let me see if how close I can get. Ian Fulguerius. I don't know what to say about that one. Here's one that probably translates out to Himanshu Dash. That's my guess. Neil Edgett. Denali 275. JZQ number 1, Michael Johnson, someone called Unforgiven, poor guy, probably Overlord, over 3 or something like that, Greg Fernando, Crash Landon, MM, Dopo, Zenji, Christopher Vincent, YS Love Will Conquer, Zoe Harborage, Caleb Colin, there's even Evan Bushong, isn't that interesting? And Michael Johnson again down here as not only a member but also a Patreon person. So super duper thank you to all you folks. You want to jump in, Lauren? Now's your chance.
Oh, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Let's keep on moving here. Here we go. So we got some newspaper advertisements. Here's Thomas Smith. He is a boot and shoemaker, a leather cutter, courier, and he's on Chapel Street in case you want to see him. He begs to leave it to inform his friends and the public in general that he carries on the above branches of work in an extensive manner. He makes and sells the following articles, wholesale and retail. Vis-a-vis, he does gentlemen's best boots with the English legs and bend holes bound with Moroccan leather. There's more gentlemen's best boots and gentlemen's best boots that are with New York legs. Apparently they got different legs.
Oh, different?
I always thought everybody's legs were pretty much the same. And then best water boots. So not regular boots, but water boots. And then down here at the bottom, I don't know what that is. He's talking about, but the concept here is that there are special boots. And here we have on the other side here, we have the definition of boot, and it's a covering for the leg, in case you needed to know. Various kinds of boots, hunting boots, fishing boots, jack boots, and then fishermen of New England preserve their boots waterproof by the following composition. This is great. Why in a definition of boots would they give us a recipe for waterproofing your boots? I don't know, but they do. Maybe.
I'm glad they do. I mean, having your boots waterproof makes such a difference.
No.
Like, such a comfort level, longevity of the shoes, just
Exactly.
all around. You're like, can I waterproof all of my shoes? It's extremely helpful.
So what have we got? We've got a pint of boiled linseed oil, a half a pound of mutton suet, 6 ounces of pure beeswax, and 4 ounces of rosin. So that's probably like pitch. And you melt them over a slow fire. Boy, you really got to be careful with that because that would like burst into flames in a hot second. So if you're going to make some, use something like a slow cooker without the direct flames, and you will save yourselves from exploding and catching on fire, which is not recommended.
Electricity has a lot of nice things about it, right?
Exactly.
The open flames is great.
Yeah, electricity, it's got its benefits. So apparently the boot is said to have been the invention of the, I don't know, can you tell who that is? Something Carians? I don't know who that is. Who first made leather. You gotta take their history with a spoon of salt. So be careful with their little history lessons when they say is said to have been. I think that's a hint right there.
Take this with a grain of salt.
Well, I can tell you something I think too, but anyway. So what about the special shoes you wear in the mud, in the rain, And the muddy, I mean, you can't imagine the mud that they would have in towns. In fact, there is a letter here I've got someplace. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, here we go. 1777. John Adams writing. I don't think he's writing to his wife, but he's writing to, it's like, dined at the president's, and I think he means the president of the Congress, not the president of the United States, because they didn't have one yet. With Mr. Lux, Messrs. Samuel and Robert Purveyance, Captain Nicholson of the Maryland frigate, somebody. They dined upon New England saltfish. The weather was rainy, and the streets the muddiest I have ever seen. And he says, this is the dirtiest place in the world. Our Salem or Portsmouth are neat in comparison. The inhabitants, however, are excusable because they had determined to pave the streets before this war came on, and since which they have laid the project aside, as they are accessible to men of war. This place is not incorporated. It is neither a city, a town, or a borough, so that they can do nothing without authority. But basically, they were going to make the streets cleaner, and they put that project aside. They're probably going to pave it, put stones down, and instead it turns out to be the dirtiest place in the world. Now, it's not just dirty with mud, but there are other kinds of mud that you would run into in the streets that's going to mix with the other mud, the animal mud and probably some people mud, all together. And so if you're a lady with dainty shoes on, you probably got these,
anyone at all.
well, if you're anyone at all, but you've got these beautiful flowered shoes. We don't have a picture of a beautiful flowered shoe of the time period with, made with fancy cloth. And it's like, can you get me a pair of stilts? Can I like hover 5 feet above this stuff? Well, you can at least hover 3 or 4 inches if you have a pair of these pattens or overshoes. These are early, 1700 to 1715 or so. And you would basically put your shoe into that and then tie it, and then you could, I can't imagine walking it would be very clumsy to walk in these things.
I think you'd go pretty slow.
Yeah, you can imagine them, walking like they were on high heels, except you're on, I don't know what you even want to call that, but yeah, special springtime shoes. Here we go. We've got the Agricolas here working in the fields, and this is supposed to be springtime. I'm trying to figure out what those guys are doing along the side there with the tall stand of whatever it is. But other people are in the background. Obviously, he's plowing. It's the time of year that you would be doing plowing. And that reminds me of the, I haven't seen it here, but I've seen it. I didn't bring it up today. I didn't have time to search for it specifically. But in one of the references, they were talking about the best plowing fertilizer was snow. That if you could plow the snow, if you got some snow and you could plow it into the earth, that somehow, it would be extra nutritional for the plants. So if anybody has any information on plowing snow in as a fertilizer.
I'm pretty sure they mentioned it in one of the Little House on the Prairie series.
Maybe.
And I do wonder, you're like, did it help the farm? Did it help the ground have it?
Well, I mean, if you think about like lightning, so
Yeah,
one place
it
it
does.
says here lightning is good. Now that fixes nitrogen, right, in the soil. And it could be that, the snow, it could be that it just breaks up the soil in a different way because it's kind of frozen and the water does it. I don't know what that's, I'm not a ground expert.
A farmer scientist.
That's not me.
Combo there.
Speaking of farmer scientists, boy, one of them's big and the other one's little. I don't know how this works out. The four-wheeled drill plow with a seed and manure hopper, first invented in 1745. and is now used with William Ellis, who we've heard about before. And so it's like, I'll guarantee you it doesn't work very well, but one of these, we're going to make it all happen at once. It's going to plow, it's going to fertilize, it's going to plant. I'm surprised it doesn't have a thing further back that harvests the plant when it's done. But yeah, it's a super tool there, pulled by one tired horse. It's going to do it all in one shot. I like this. When it's at the very bottom, it says something like, the cheap labor of women and children was a regular feature.
Okay.
Well, that's what we like around here.
So I looked up, I asked, does snow have nitrogen? Yes, it does, and that's why it's often referred to as the poor man's fertilizer. It absorbs it from the atmosphere when it falls, and so it becomes a gentle, slow-release
Ta-da,
nutrient for the soil.
slow-release nitrogen.
Right?
And they knew what they were doing.
Right, they did.
Even if they didn't know that it was nitrogen in there. It's
good for
they
the
knew.
soil.
It's like,
They
hey,
knew
it just
that.
works, man. So let me see if I can find where this part is. I'm afraid I have totally messed up these things. No. No.
I didn't really have them in very precise order
okay.
to begin with.
Well,
but
good. Then I don't feel so bad. I thought I must have done something really. Let's see. It is now increasing in so much that some fields of green, wheat in Middlesex, Somerset, and Monmouth are so injured last October as to induce their owners to plow them over and sow rye. Other fields being partially injured were left until their owners were able to judge what to do with them in the spring. Some have plowed them over and sowed spring grain, which is certainly most advisable because we are always sure of a good spring crops on the land that has been well tilled this preceding summer with the intention of sowing fall grain. And so they're talking about particular kinds of things that are happening with their crops. And I can't remember what one I was reading here. I'm not sure where I'm going to find it because everything is kind of muddled. But it was the idea that I think it was actually, I didn't print it out. It was in Samuel Lane's piece, and he was talking about the crops, and he was very, very careful. Even though he was a tanner and involved in tanning, he was also talking about the crops all the time. And there's a good section if you're really interested of inflation during war, especially during the Revolutionary War, which I think plants the seeds of the inflation that happens in the French Revolution, with printed money that comes in and so on and so forth. He really talks about what's going on as a person on the ground with inflation and what's going on with their money during the Revolutionary War. And the author is Samuel Lane. You can find it on archive.org. But he talks about the crops and the crops failing one year, them having to plow them in. Then one year they have a bumper crop of whatever's going on. The weather in the springtime makes all the world. In fact, there's that one. Did you print out that one saying about dust in March?
I didn't print out any of the
Right.
Proverbs.
So there are proverbs from the time period, and one of them is one that we read and we're like, what? And it's something like, a bucket of dust is worth a king's ransom in March. And it really has to do with the idea of if the weather is kind to you in March, if it's dry, if it's not so wet that you can't get into the fields, if it's dry enough to do that, then you will be able to, be ahead of all your agricultural work, and you'll be much more likely to have a very, very profitable year. So I can't even remember where I was going with that. I got lost in my own thoughts. So that's all right though. Here is the image that we used for the thumbnail. of oxen plowing in the field. And I mean, here we do have, in that other image we had with the drill, there was a boy leading the horse. And here we have a boy leading the oxen, and then the person who's working the plow. It is super not easy. Of course, not that I've ever done it, to try to plow behind animals. You want them to, it's like, I need them to go a particular direction, and I need to be wrestling this piece of equipment and turning that stuff. So having someone lead them probably would make a giant difference. And you could have, some child do that job.
Yeah.
They don't need a great deal of strength.
Yeah,
They
and
just need-
it could be that it depends on what the ground's like.
Right.
That sometimes if the ground's, a certain consistency, it's fine. And other times you're
Right.
like, no, we're going to need some additional
Yeah,
help.
I'm going to need 14 people ahead, making it do just the right thing. No coughing allowed. So we do have other sets of this. This is kind of classic 18th century still life of flowers, and you'll see these going throughout the year. Although I'm not sure,
One
where
of these
those.
is March and one is April.
I know, but where are those flowers in March? Are those the kind of flowers you would see in March?
Maybe there if you have a greenhouse.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are daffodils in the middle,
Okay, well, there you
but
go.
that's the only.
Also, I'm not quite sure where this particular where the artist was
Right.
geographically.
Exactly.
Obviously, if you were in England, you would have been getting different flowers.
Oh,
Like
yes,
here
of course.
in Indiana, anyway.
Right.
Even if you go down to Indianapolis, where
Mm-hmm.
it's just about 2 hours south, you go about 2 weeks ahead in spring.
You're right.
In the progress of the year, so there's quite the
Yeah.
variety.
We're in a
depending
different zone
on- Yeah.
from them, that's for sure. Anyway, there is March and April for somebody.
Right, not us. We got crocuses,
Yeah, that's what we've got.
daffodils.
The New York Packet, 1787, and we have all sorts of garden seeds. We have Carlton peas, fat marrow peas, green dwarf, bush, hotspur beans, Windsor beans, long pod, 6-week, dwarf, 1001, early yellow French beans, scarlet rennet, so lots of beans, cabbage seeds. Are those other ones? So sugarloaf cabbage, maybe? Cauliflower cabbage? Yep. We've got flower seeds. We got all kinds of kitchen garden seeds, like cabbage, celery seeds. Can you imagine? Celery seeds. Onion seeds, cabbage seeds, grass seeds, timothy, and white clover seeds. So there we go. 1787. Plenty of stuff available. Here, this guy has got some of those seeds, and he's just throwing them out there. And look, the birds are right behind him, eating them all. Arg. He went to all that work to prepare the ground, and then the birds come and eat the seeds. I don't even know what to tell you. I'm disappointed. A series of 12 prints representing the month of March. This is much, and a bunch of these are going to be earlier. 16th century, and people working in the gardens, and one is gardens that are formal gardens, and then other gardens that seem to be a bit more on the produce side of the garden, or even the field, in the case of the far right. But a great concern of people who want to survive the year. We have oxen again, in a little bit more of a standard. Do we know what we?
I'm not quite sure where the location of
Yeah.
of this one is. It could be somewhere totally different. I really just grabbed this one because you could see the plowing in detail a bit more.
Right. I'm just kind of interested in the plow, and even in the clothing they chose to put the workers in, which is pretty rough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can see the trees in the background. This could be from one of the Caribbean islands, or this one may be
don't-
far flung from
Maybe.
a travel.
Maybe.
I'm not quite sure.
I think the name is Vandervin, though, so it implies it's Dutch, possibly. Again, one of these sort of a bit more definitely European and a bit more sort of on the symbolic side of somebody sewing and somebody plowing in the background. And, you know, we have this medieval village, you know, further back. Obviously, you know, a lot of these are just art meant to not necessarily, not for us to pull any great quantity of information from, right? And they didn't make this art so that somebody 250 years later would say, "Ooh, look at the shoes he's wearing," right? But it certainly gives us the idea that they are sensing spring in a different way than we do. Again, it's our 16th century, very early piece. Very interesting shovel design there that the guy has, and they're working on the hedge in the background, and I like that canteen water bottle. It looks like it sort of melted in place. Like, what is that made out of? How did you even do that? Maybe it is leather. And it's
skin.
Maybe it's kind of collapsed and it's leather, although it looks like it's a keg. But I believe with its deformation like that it's not, that it's a leather bottle. Again, early piece. This is probably 16th century. Working in those gardens, we've got different things being displayed here, working on the formal part. And in the background, we see other things going on, like they're shearing the sheep. There are, again, certain spring things, not just planting, but animal husbandry, things that happen in the spring that they always happen in the spring. And you shear the sheep when it's going to get hot. It's going to start getting hot, and they
Gotta get them sheared.
Right, they needed it for the winter.
Did. And also the lambing season, which... I feel like for a lot of people who have sheep, the lambing season is quite strenuous. You're like, it's often not great weather, and it's very full, like around the clock, kind of more intense.
It's like tax season for...
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got some more springtime stuff here, churning and whatever he's doing here, working the ground. Let's see if I can find some of these. The sowing of hemp for the in April, which is important. We've got sowing seed here on the right-hand side. They had flies destroy turnips that I had sown. We've got flax and hemp being pulled, and we've got others, springtime crops in different kinds of books. This one's real similar to that garden one that we saw earlier. When springtime happens is when you have to do all this work. You let it go in December and January.
You're letting everything rest, right? And during the winter, and then spring comes. You're out there. You're pruning the trees. You're prepping the ground. You're making sure you've got all your seeds lined up.
Now you got to fix all your fences and your trellises and all that good stuff. Now, this was interesting, and you don't see a lot of this talked about, but here we have the making of maple syrup and maple sugar. So maple sugar produces syrup. The sugar is in very considerable quantities with little attention in the early spring when the farmers are idle. So isn't it great? You don't have anything else to do, and the trees are giving you sap. And you can make a bunch of maple syrup by boiling it down because you don't have anything better to do that time of year. And there are places in North America, especially in the back country, where maple sugar is the sugar. And I don't have it close at hand, but in the inventory of the fort at Fort Wayne, the trading station in 1811, that was one of the few food items they had was maple sugar, and that was because the Native Americans in the area were making it and trading it for other items. So where they're going to bring in hides and they're going to bring in various things, and maple sugar is one of those things they're going to bring in that will be resold on to local people or shipped out east. You don't see as much reference to it, maybe, out on the coasts, but undoubtedly it is the inexpensive sugar source for so many places. And I think he talks about it in the Bark Covered House also. Don't have that off the top of my head. Here we go, more gardening work, preparing those trellises and whatnot. It still looks like pretty bare ground out there, although some of these people aren't necessarily very heavily dressed. I don't know. I don't know. Again, this says it's March. It looks pretty bare.
Early March.
Yeah. I mean, there are boats on the water, so it's not frozen over.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Springtime, and yeah, we talked about, now this can't. It says March, but
It does
look
say
at that.
March.
They're actually, now maybe you would keep your wheat sheaves and beat it out in different
Could
parts of
be.
the year, right? So here they are thrashing their wheat, and of course we've got chickens and chicks, and I think we've seen that picture before. Chickens. Springtime, and what are these, lambs?
Yeah, I very much associate spring with the lambs. So yeah, we've got a couple different sheep pictures here.
Looks a little green. I don't know what's going on, what month they were trying to get at with that. I guess we do have some more sheep here. What is the date on this one? This one is a strange looking.
Oh, and this one I think it said it was weaving. Like it's,
Oh, maybe that's why it looks different.
right?
Okay, like it's a tapestry or something? I don't know. Anyway, we've got sheep shearing, and we've got other people doing springtime work. We got your standard goat pictures, or sheep pictures. Well, I don't know. There you got flowers, so it must be springtimey. What is going on here?
I was having a
Is
great
this a
time.
sheep live stream? More.
Don't look at me. I just made the slides. Lauren picked all the pictures. It wasn't my
Okay.
fault.
Okay. Anyway, here's some more springtime sheep shearing in case you need to know. This is very similar to that other image, but it is different. Maybe it's almost copied off of it. You don't quite. There is the sheep in the background and the garden in the foreground, and probably
See?
somebody saw the picture at his neighbor's house and said, "I want one just like it, but make it mine instead."
Yeah. Make it look my house.
Dutch prints depicting March, and we've got fishermen on one side and fish on the other side.
This one, these were the only ones that had the fish, and I didn't. Sometimes it'll have like the poem and it won't have it translated,
Right.
and sometimes I can, but of course you can't copy it.
Right.
You can't copy and paste it. Sometimes
Right.
I can do it by entering it in, but sometimes you misspell it because it's harder to read. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to translate these, so I am quite mystified by the fish connection. Maybe it's now time to go out fishing, right? Maybe you don't really go out fishing in the wintertime in these areas. Maybe it's not safe.
I wish I knew.
Yes.
If you know,
please tell us.
strong water boots, the top of which will draw up half the length of the thigh, are an indispensable necessity. They must also be large enough to admit a quantity of hay to be stuffed down all around the legs and to be kept well tallowed to resist the running water for many hours. What is this for? Is this for like fishing or what? Trying to figure it out. Anyway, somebody wants to fill your boots with straw. Sounds uncomfortable to me. So I had, that's Joshua Hempstead. So this is a diary of Joshua Hempstead, who was writing early on in the 18th century for many years. And this is close packed stuff. It's like there's no gap. and his days are pretty short. So it doesn't take long to get through a month. Let me see if I can find where our month is. There's February, and
I thought it started close to the bottom of the page.
yeah,
I could be wrong.
right. So let's try about where we're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thursday the 15th. This is February. Misty, some rain. I was most of the day in town with the committee who were laying out a highway to the spring by Thomas Edgecombe's land, but they did not agree. We killed our last 3 hogs, weighed 508 pounds. Friday the 16th, rainy. I was at home all day, only at lecture. Mr. Ad per Saturday, fair and cold. I was at home all day. Sunday, fair, a sacrament day. Then there's Monday the 19th, cloudy. I was at home making a stone wall on Hill Smith's lot. Tuesday, cloudy, a snow shower. I was at home all day making a stone wall. To the Wednesday the 21st, fair. I was at court all day as a witness. Thursday, rainy. I was at court all day as a witness. Boring. He was at court all day again. He's still at court all day.
That was a long case.
Yeah. A violent storm at night, wind and rain. Tuesday it's fair again. And then misty and some rain. They have the same spring weather.
Yep, that was
Which
us.
is like, it's nice. No, it's not. It's nice. No, it's not. So that's Mr. Hempstead. And yeah, this is Thomas Lane. And he goes from, it's like October, December, and April. And on he is to the next thing. Did we make it through all the slides? Mm-hmm. We did.
Well, I guess we didn't do this one.
This one's Easter.
Yes, this one is Easter.
And they have like eggs that were specific for it, and the description walked through the specific things that let you know that this was Easter.
Right. The cow, the eggs. I'm not sure what else you was.
So somebody was commenting that, so in some of the March pictures earlier, there was a ram, and that's the zodiac sign for March 21st through April 19th. But for February 19th through March 20th, it's Pisces, right?
Uh-huh.
So that
Fish.
would quite likely why there's fish
Right.
in the other March pictures.
So, with all this horrible weather, here is February now, and this is right about this time of year, February 1756. On the 16th, on a Monday, this is John Adams, and here he is. A most beautiful morning. We have had the most moderate winter that ever was known in this country. For a long time together, we've had serene and temperate weather, and all the roads are perfectly settled and smooth like summer. It's like spring didn't even happen. It's beautiful. Don't we all wish that
What an unusual spring.
was what was going on?
Okay, I've got some super chats.
Okay, go ahead.
So this one is from Eagle Scout. Happy Friday. And then here's Speed and Style Tony, some money to scrape the mud off, which we're going to need. We're going to need it. And then here's one from the Weights Experience, just a super chat. Thank you. And then this one is from Jaji. A friend wears a medical device on one leg that resembles one of those metal patents. Years ago, at a very muddy event, she sank in, and we needed a tent stake to hook under it and pull her up. And we have been stuck at quite a few events where it did get very muddy, because two of the biggest ones around here are in riverbed. They're right down by the river. Beautiful, but if it rains when you're at the event, sometimes, especially the parking lots, get that several inches deep in mud. And sometimes the vehicle you have is not great in mud. I don't think we've ever gotten stuck, but they usually have tow trucks. When it rains, sometimes the tow trucks have to come in and rescue people.
This episode is brought to you by Michael Dragoo's new cookbook called Colonial Road Foods. Yes, Michael did another cookbook just because he is that kind of troublesome person. Big pretty pictures and lots of texty stuff on this, so if you're interested in another Michael Dragoo cookbook, we will be doing at least, he'll be on the live stream, and in probably 3 or 4 weeks time, we'll be doing a cooking episode or so on the channel from this, and we will have him in as a guest. But this is available right now on our website, and the link is in the chat. Excited about Michael's new cookbook. What else? Are we there? Are we
think
done?
we're all
We did
good.
it. We did springtime. I'm ready for it. I know it's a little early, but you gotta bring it on. You have to.
Anticipation is
You
very
have
important.
to invite it in. Please, springtime, come to us. Even a couple days is an amazing respite. When it got up to 60-something degrees, and it's like, this is great. And then it snows the next day. Anyway, thank you so much for your incredible support here on the channel. It takes a lot to keep this machine going, and you are part of the fuel, the oil. You're one of the parts that make this machine function. And there's so many little interesting things. I've been doing a lot of kind of in-depth research into some separate little things I'm excited about. So we will have fun talking about interesting quirks and fun information from the 18th century that can help us all kind of at least get perspective on our lives today, if not something just truly usable for us, a new recipe or a new way of thinking about something. So thank you so much for your amazing support. Patreon, Super Chat, purchasing merch, or whatever it is you do. You help us, even if it's just here in the chat or talking with other people about our channel. You help make it happen. Thank you so much, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. Thanks for watching.